professional record of 10 victories, 1 defeat, with 7 of those.
And gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world.
The beginning of round 9 and round 8, over 16,500.
Are you ready? What?
Are indeed high, with Gervonta Tank Davis daring to be great.
Right now, Jake Paul's kind of measuring his man.
Experience. This is Pedraza.
Oh, shot counter from the problem child. Now it is Jake Paul who is focusing more on the boxing instead of looking.
And it appears Davis' confidence is growing by the second.
Pedraza's not doing some of the fundamental things that could, nice.
Oh, Pedraza
looks down there, but that one won the best. To talk about this, but because of Pedraza's...
Yeah, Davis landing some sharp shots.
Davis tags the body with the right. That left hook was...
Oh, that overhand right is coming from Jake Paul.
For his professional fights.
With an eruption here.
The beginning of round 9 and round 8, over 16,500 were on their feet as they watched Davis. And this fight is over!
He is the winner by way of technical knockout. He is still undefeated. Now a 3-division world champion and the new WBA super lightweight champion of the world, Gervonta Tank Davis.
On Netflix, to those of you joining us right here in Texas, you ready to make history? Let's meet the fighters. First, fighting out of the blue corner, silver and chrome trunks. He stands 6 feet 1 inch tall. He weighed in at 227.2 pounds. He holds a near perfect professional record of 10 victories, 1 defeat, with 7 of those wins coming by way of knockout. And he fought by way of Cleveland, Ohio, USA. He is the multi-talented superstar who bridged the gap between social media and professional boxing. Boxer, a content creator, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, and a promoter, and the self-proclaimed of boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the problem child, Jake El Gallo Paul.
And gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Atlanta, Georgia, it's showtime! Introducing to you first the challenger on my right, fighting out of the blue corner tonight, seeking his 3rd division world title. Wearing white trunks with yellow and silver trim, the young star of boxing from Baltimore, and representing his adopted home of Atlanta, Georgia. He weighed in at 139 3/4 pounds with a sensational record of 24 wins, no losses. He has 23 big wins coming by way of knockout. Here's the popular and acclaimed 3-time 2-division world champion, the hard-hitting, current and undefeated WBA super featherweight and WBA lightweight champion of the world, introducing Gervonta Tank Davis.
Jake Paul vs. Gervonta Tank Davis, 2025. It wasn't just a fight. It was madness. The kind of viral spectacle that breaks the internet, crashes pay-per-view servers, and leaves the world arguing for weeks. The YouTube superstar turned global sensation stood face-to-face with boxing's undefeated knockout artist, and the atmosphere was pure electricity. Was this the night Jake Paul shocked the world with an impossible upset, or the night Gervonta Davis brutally humbled him under the brightest lights? On paper, it felt unreal, an internet icon walking around at 200 pounds versus a lightweight legend who built his legacy at 135. The weight gap alone sparked outrage, forcing regulators in Atlanta to shut the deal down. But boxing doesn't run on logic, it runs on controversy, chaos, and money. That's why Miami's Casa Center became the epic stage for a fight that redefined modern combat sports. What unfolded wasn't just boxing. It was entertainment history, packed with knockouts, highlight moments, and the kind of viral chaos fans will stream forever. It was billed as the ultimate mismatch, but it transformed into a blockbuster spectacle that dominated global streaming. Netflix branded it the Super Bowl of combat sports, and the strategy exploded. Millions tuned in, not just to see punches, but to witness the collision of two worlds, a YouTube disruptor versus boxing's most dangerous finisher. This wasn't about belts or rankings. It was pure entertainment, history in motion. The weight disparity became the headline. Jake Paul, the problem child, towering over Gervonta, Tank Davis, taller, heavier, longer reach. On paper, it screamed David versus Goliath. But this time, Goliath wasn't the boxer. Jake Paul entered as the outsider, the internet showman who turned hate into marketing gold. Gervonta Davis? The silent assassin. The undefeated champion with 24 wins and 23 knockouts, feared across divisions, respected worldwide. Their rivalry had been brewing for years, fueled by interviews, call-outs, and viral trash talk. It started 4 years earlier, when Jake Paul boldly called out Canelo Alvarez, igniting disbelief across the boxing world. That same audacity set the stage for tonight. When Tank Davis finally fired back, saying he'd beat the brakes off Jake Paul, it lit the internet on fire. Jake clapped back instantly, trolling Tank's height and turning it into a meme that spread like wildfire. Critics called Jake a fraud, not a real boxer. But Jake didn't fold, he weaponized the hate. Every insult became a slogan. Every skeptic fueled his next headline. Meanwhile, pressure mounted on Tank to silence the noise, not on Twitter, but in the ring. The rivalry exploded when Jake stunned the sports world by defeating Mike Tyson, proving he could headline with legends. Now the story had everything. Jake Paul, brash, viral, unstoppable. Gervonta Davis, quiet, ruthless, undefeated. When Tank promised to put Jake to sleep, fans knew it wasn't hype. It was war. This was more than a fight. It was destiny. Two empires colliding, the most viral name in combat sports versus the pound-for-pound phenom with everything to protect. The weight drama, the trash talk, the Tyson headlines, all of it led here. By fight night, pay-per-view sales shattered records. Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube exploded. This wasn't just entertainment, it was a million-dollar gamble that rewrote boxing history. Jake Paul's rise, from YouTube prankster to legitimate headliner, became the most talked-about story in sports. Yes, Tyson was 58 when they fought. Yes, he was far from his prime. But the win gave Jake something priceless: credibility, leverage, and a global platform. Critics called it a setup. Eddie Hearn dismissed it as an insult. But controversy equals clicks, and Jake Paul mastered that formula better than anyone alive. Fighters across the world weighed in. Colby Covington blasted him as soft and unskilled. Claressa Shields called him a marketer, not a boxer. Even Francis Ngannou teased that he'd humble Jake next. And then came Andre Ward, the undefeated legend, with the line that echoed through every gym and podcast. If Jake Paul wants respect, let him face a real fighter. And that's exactly what was about to happen. Instantly, the boxing world erupted, debates, predictions, hot takes, and viral commentary flooding every platform. Critics expected Jake Paul to fold under pressure. Instead, he turned backlash into business. Every insult became content. Every headline turned into profit. What looked like mockery became millions of impressions, boosting pay-per-view buys, ad rates, and global buzz overnight. In just months, Jake Paul wasn't seen as a YouTube clown chasing clicks, he was a disruptive force boxing promoters couldn't ignore. Love him or hate him, he broke records, landed major sponsorships, and rewired the business of fight promotion. But across the ring stood a different kind of powerhouse, Gervonta Tank Davis. Unlike Jake, Tank didn't need marketing gimmicks or viral stunts. His reputation came from violence, not visibility. Every punch he threw told its own story, one of discipline, hunger, and destruction. Before the clash with Paul, Tank's record was immaculate: 24 wins, 0 losses, 23 knockouts. That's not dominance, that's devastation. Nearly every opponent who faced him left the ring broken, as highlight reels and replay clips flooded YouTube and ESPN. Tank didn't chase points or decisions. He ended nights early. Born and raised in the rough streets of Baltimore, boxing wasn't his hobby, it was his survival. When he turned pro, his hunger became contagious, electrifying arenas, sportsbooks, and streaming platforms worldwide. Atlanta, in particular, embraced him like one of their own. Every time Tank fought, the city showed up, roaring, betting, and watching him deliver cinematic knockouts that generated millions in digital revenue. What made Tank magnetic wasn't just the record, it was the precision. He wasted no motion, no energy. Every move was calculated, every strike a financial and physical earthquake. At 135 pounds, his knockout power wasn't just impressive, it was terrifying. Fans didn't just tune in for boxing, they tuned in to witness destruction, and maybe profit from it. Heading into this matchup, most of the boxing world agreed, Jake Paul had finally stepped into a dangerous trap. This wasn't an aging MMA veteran or a retired legend chasing paydays. Tank Davis was in his absolute prime, undefeated, ruthless, and carrying a 95% knockout ratio. Those numbers don't lie. That's why experts predicted Jake's run would end violently. No number of YouTube subscribers, sponsorships, or weight advantages could protect him once Tank landed clean. This fight wasn't about celebrity anymore. It was about credibility. A reckoning. A reality check that reminded everyone that boxing is, and always will be, ruled by skill, precision, endurance, and heart, not hashtags and hype. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. Jake Paul, the flashy entertainer who built an empire through pay-per-view stunts and social media showmanship. Gervonta Davis, the silent executioner, respected, efficient, lethal. One sold fights like Hollywood blockbusters. The other ended them with chilling finality. And when worlds like that collide, you don't just get a boxing match. You get a global spectacle, a cultural event that stops timelines and shatters streaming records. This wasn't just hype versus skill, or size versus speed. It was everything that fuels combat sports rolled into one. Legacy versus clout. Tradition versus disruption. Respect versus chaos. By the time the Miami lights hit on fight night, none of that mattered, not the weight classes, not the Twitter debates. Only one question hung in the air. Backhand index pointing right, could Jake Paul survive the raw, destructive power of Gervonta Tank Davis, or would Tank do what he's done to nearly everyone before him, end the show with a viral knockout scene round the world? The stakes were sky high. Sportsbooks were buzzing. Streaming platforms were breaking records. Fans refreshed live odds every round. Fight week turned Miami into a carnival of money, media, and madness. Netflix ran wall-to-wall promos, billboards covered every skyline, and countdown clocks flashed across arenas. This wasn't just a fight, it was a billion-dollar broadcast moment. Every press event became viral gold. Jake Paul thrived as the headline villain, mocking Tank's height, squatting in front of cameras, grinning like a showman. Tank didn't flinch. His glare said everything. Then, one chilling promise cut through the noise. "I'll put you in a body bag." The crowd erupted. Sportsbooks lit up. Analysts lost their minds. Each stare-down grew more nuclear, nose to chest, tension thick enough to cut. Jake fed algorithms with taunts and theatrics. Tank answered with silence, and the kind of cold focus that made opponents rethink their careers. By fight week, the world wasn't just watching, it was addicted. Because everyone knew, when those gloves finally touched, something unforgettable was coming. That's undeniable progress, the kind of evolution you simply can't ignore. But here's the million-dollar question. What about Tank Davis? Did he jeopardize his legacy by agreeing to trade punches with Jake Paul? Across sportsbooks, podcasts, and boxing forums, that question set the internet on fire. Because if Tank had walked in and flattened Jake in 2 rounds, fans would have called it predictable, another easy payday. But that's not what happened. Jake Paul survived. He soaked up Tank's power. He dragged the fight deep into the later rounds. And suddenly, the aura cracked. Yes, Tank officially won on the scorecards. But did he dominate like a 95% knockout artist? Not convincingly. And that uncertainty, that flicker of doubt, fueled a digital wildfire. Viral highlights. Heated debates. Endless reaction videos. Hardcore purists dismissed it as a circus act, a marketing stunt masquerading as boxing. Casual fans? They couldn't get enough. The spectacle, the blood, the drama, it was everything entertainment needed. This fight blurred the line between sport and show, between legacy and leverage. And for better or worse, it worked. Because the biggest winner that night wasn't even in the ring. It was Netflix. Their move into live combat sports wasn't just a gamble, it was a power play. The platform delivered a flawless global stream that pulled in millions, dominated every trending feed, and redefined pay-per-view economics in one night. This wasn't just boxing, it was a business transformation. Traditional PPV models are crumbling. Netflix showed the world what comes next, a digital ecosystem built on reach, subscriptions, and engagement. For promoters, that's disruptive and lucrative. For Jake Paul, it was validation. For Gervonta Tank Davis, it was a complex chapter, a victory that sparked debate about his invincibility. And for boxing itself, it marked a crossroads, evolution or spectacle. Opinions will differ. But one truth remains, audiences and advertisers will never see the sport the same way again. Because on November 14th in Miami, boxing didn't just stage another fight. It staged a billion-dollar cultural event. This wasn't competition, it was commerce. A live-streamed investment opportunity, perfectly packaged for sponsors, influencers, and media executives. And as the dust settled, one question echoed across every timeline. Not, who won? But, what's next? Jake Paul isn't going quietly. His empire thrives on disruption, viral engagement, premium sponsorships, and the chaos of being the headline everyone loves to hate. Then came the next shockwave. Moments after the fight, Mike Tyson dropped a bombshell on social media. Logan, you're next. Instantly, the internet erupted. Logan Paul vs. Mike Tyson, a Netflix or Prime Video exclusive? The potential was staggering. While Jake angles for Canelo, Logan could headline the sequel, transforming boxing into the Marvel Cinematic Universe of combat sports, monetized through ads, luxury brands, and streaming deals. Logan was ringside that night, playing the hype man, the strategist, amplifying the brand like only a Paul brother can. And if Tyson truly wants it, that sequel could be a billion-stream spectacle before the gloves even touch. But the story doesn't stop there. The MMA world wants in. Francis Ngannou, the heavyweight wrecking ball who hits harder than a speeding Ford Escort, laughed off Jake's Tyson win, called it a robbery, and said he'd happily smack Jake around 2 or 3 times if they ever met. Then came Colby Covington, the UFC firebrand, daring Jake to step into an MMA cage for a cardio war that would test his heart more than his hype. The crossover market is wide open, violent, viral, and dripping with cash. But the real mystery lingers around Gervonta, Tank Davis. Does he run it back? Or was this crossover chaos a one-time detour into spectacle? Tank's pride might crave revenge. After all, the moment Jake survived, that aura of invincibility faded. But his team? They could walk away. Forget Jake, they might say. Chase belts. Chase legacy. Chase real money fights. Whatever happens next, one thing's undeniable. This fight changed everything. It blurred the line between sport and entertainment, creating a new business model for combat sports, one driven by streaming, storytelling, and digital spectacle. Netflix reported record-breaking engagement, millions tuning in across every market. Social media went nuclear. Hashtags dominated trending lists for days. Clips, memes, and reactions flooded every platform. Celebrities, influencers, even brands with zero boxing knowledge suddenly became analysts. Because when something this viral happens, everyone wants a piece. For some, it was the night boxing sold its soul. For others, it was the night boxing came roaring back to life. Either way, it worked. It proved that in 2025, the sport can still dominate culture, commerce, and conversation all at once. So maybe Jake Paul didn't just survive. Maybe he rewrote the rules. Maybe this was boxing's Rubicon moment, the point of no return. Because whether you loved it or hated it, November 14th in Miami wasn't just a fight. It was the night boxing transformed forever. And now, there's only one question left. Who dares to step in next?